pound is falling, slumping by nearly 1.6% against the US dollar following announcements that the Bank of England will intervene in markets.
Yeah, something of a bad day for Kwasi Kwarteng, the Chancellor. He started his morning with warnings from the IMF and the White House criticising the UK government's tax plans, fiscal plans. But the Chancellor is reiterating that he is underlining the government's clear commitment to fiscal discipline and is working closely with the Governor of the Bank of England and Office of Budget Responsibility ahead of his medium-term fiscal plan. That's a budget on the 23rd of November. Maxi budget this time, maybe?
It's proper one, the full shebang.
What does this all mean? I hear you cry. Joining us on the show now on the programme is Dr. Eamonn Butler, who is director of the Adam Smith Institute, which is, of course, a think tank promoting freedom from poverty through free market economics and economic growth. Doesn't seem to be quite working in terms of the market reaction at the moment, of course.
Well, the markets never like anything that's unexpected, and I don't think they were expecting that the Chancellor would do everything that he's been talking about, but do it all at once. And I think the markets, if you like, have got used to easy money and cheap credit and living in this kind of fantasy land. But there comes a time when reality has to reassert itself, and quite frankly, we can't go on as we are. We need lower taxes, we need spending cuts, we need major reform of the civil service. The Chancellor hasn't announced those plans yet, but certainly the spending and reform plans are being talked about right now. Right. So we've got to do all of these things, and I think the markets have just had it easy for a long time, and asset prices have gone up and property prices have gone up because of the cheap credit and easy money. And you can't live like that forever, unfortunately.
So is that the problem, that Kwasi Kwarteng didn't announce everything in the round, that he's done it in two parts with the next part coming in November?
Well, I think probably the main problem that spooked the markets is that they are, a lot of people, I think, like the IMF, for example, are including all of the all of the promises not to raise taxes. That's the thing. The Chancellor is cutting tax. He's cutting income taxes for everybody, and he's doing some other tax cuts. But he's also said that he's not going to be doing the tax increases that his predecessor had in mind. And I think people have thought that, this is a massive tax cut. In fact, it's a sizable tax cut, but it's not as massive as all that. So I think eventually the markets will come to realise, in fact,
okay.
this is
Dr. Eamonn Butler, just talk us through the theory of the practice of what the government are trying to do. Tell us how, if you cut taxes, not just for those who are struggling, but for those who are some of the best off in our society, and also remove the cap on bankers' bonuses so they can earn more. Just talk us through the theory of how this leads to growth for all of us. You're from the Adam Smith Institute. You're on the right economically, but this is based on economic theory. It's something that Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng are following. Talk us through how it works, or is intended to work.
It's actually based on economic practicality, because if you raise your taxes beyond certain limits, people will simply stop paying them. They'll either leave the country, or they'll quit work, or they'll find ways to avoid or evade taxes. So very high taxes, like the top rates that has just been cut, these things are a real disincentive to people. And the bankers' bonuses, for example, what the government is trying to do is to attract bankers back to London and Edinburgh rather than have them in Frankfurt and New York. So it's bringing trade in. If you allow people the opportunity to make money and to keep the money that they earn, then they will work harder. They'll come to the UK, and there's an incentive in them to prosper, and that benefits everybody because they pay tax, of course, and that funds public services. So it makes the poorer people better off as well. So in a rising economy, it's the poor actually who benefit most. It's them whose standards of living increase most dramatically. not the rich. So you need a dynamic, growing economy, and that's the theory behind this, and it's the practicality behind this that does actually work. If you simply try to make everybody equal, it doesn't work. You get equal poverty.
One of the central beliefs, of course, of the Adam Smith Institute is that you can't buck the markets. Given what's happening, particularly with the pound on the currency markets, how much time has the government got, given that we're down to, 106 against the dollar this morning?
Yes, but I mean, the pound, like the euro, has been sliding against the dollar all year, in fact. A little increase at the weekend, that's absolutely true. But yes, if you've been living high on the hog, if you've been living off cheap credit and interest rates almost zero, in fact, they're still negative, even 4 or 5%. It's still negative when inflation is 11%. So the bank is paying you to borrow their money. That's ridiculous. And the Bank of England, monetary policy, printing money, and then to get over bad times, and then not doing anything about it when things slowly improve a bit. That's a fantasy land, and you just can't live on that. So you've got to have the reality at some point, and it's going to be tough. That's absolutely true. We know that, but it's not the chancellor that's the problem. It's everything that's happened in the last 20 years that's the problem.
And that might take some time to discuss, but Dr.